Hello, this is educational guide for plus thinking team escalation, additional other escalation department for typesetting. It will be quite short. I will try at least to keep it short. It's not in-depth guide. You can read about it somewhere else. I just try to recreate exactly what I'm doing to get the result done. What we have here is Photoshop. It's pretty old version, so some menus could look differently for you, but all the main points should stay the same. We have page 8 because it has quite a lot of different text. It has text in bubble of different kind. Text is still speech, but outside of bubble we will use different font for this, and even SFX, but we won't touch it, and we will try to cover this all. So we have already clean. It has two layers. One is raw. You can always check how the original looks and what fonts were used there, and you want to somewhat to create the same style, the same tone of it in your own work. And we have clean, where all this was deleted. We will create a new folder, name it text. As you can see, this folder already has this menu for font. I already opened it. You should have it too. It's your main menu as typesetter. It has settings of your font. And since it's just a folder, the only thing that we're interested is color. Let's make it black, because usually our fonts will be black. And we have here a page that I took from main plus thinking team group. It's a page with examples of the fonts that we're using in Ofuri, just as example. It's pretty much how I personally do typesettings. You can do it some other way, but it's pretty handy for me and can be handy for you too. And what's more important, it will help to maintain some consistency. So what is this page? We have our examples of all different kind of text, every text in its own preset. We have quite a lot here. But for a starter, you probably will need speech, thought, shout, and probably something like handwritten text. And since we'll probably include text outside the bubble too, for text typesetting, I will cover it here too, and we have it here on the different folder with two versions. All this kind we don't need for now, so this is pretty much it. I'll probably talk about it just in text, how to choose this kind of fonts. But the general idea is that you want to have a separate set of font including all its options, like here, for different kind of text. For example, let's come back to our page. This and just speech, right? This can be handwritten. This can be handwritten too, or maybe shouting, but it's pretty small for shouting, so just handwritten, I think, text. This and this will be text outside of bubbles. They are all in different fonts with different settings, and you'll need to compose your own page with these fonts examples. That will be very handy and will simplify your work in the future. Let's pretend that we already have it. You can even take some of the font from here, and just to simplify, let's pretend that we have already this kind of fonts. Pretty much every manga have these types, and you can add additional types of fonts for like different kind of emotions, like anxious speech, like funny or angry, but it's up to you. Okay, we have these two files open, and we have our text translation. Let's select and copy. I did copy there. It can be done with Ctrl+C, and let's make our first bubble. Here in the typesetted page, let's select text folder. This properties doesn't matter because we'll override it, but color should be black, or the color of your font. Then let's go here in the document with our examples and select the text example that we need. Here we need speech. So in the layer of different types of presets, let's select speech font and press this instrument, horizontal type tool. We'll be using this mainly. Then let's switch back to our document, and as you can see, here in the text options we have exactly this font. I won't go in depth what each of these numbers mean. You can Google it. The main idea is that after you have your document with text presets, you don't want to change here anything pretty much than size. All other options should stay the same. And when you choose, when you're choosing what option, this option should look like, you pretty much don't want to mess around with any of this outside of maybe distance between with this horizontal scale. We made it less than 100 so that text would fit better. Normal number is 100 or a little bit less. And this is another pretty important options. And aliasing, I prefer smooth. It looks better than other options, I think. but each type of this preset can have different one, at least in theory. So okay, we selected, we switch back, we got this exact font in our folder, and let's make our first text square. For this we're still selecting this tool, horizontal type tool, and draw somewhat of a square with it. It should be more or less of a size of the bubble, but we can correct it later. Release and do like Ctrl plus V or paste our text that we selected from translation. We have pretty short sentence, just listen up, but it doesn't fit here quite well. We can either make font size a little bit smaller, like this, and correct the position. I think it's probably too little, so I can try to just add a hyphen, if I spell it correctly, like this. Listen up. Okay, that looks quite okay for me. So we have a text, but it looks pretty off from the bubble. We need to correct the position. With this we can turn off this check, show transform controls, and it will show you a border for this object. For horizontal alignment, it's pretty useful to correct the position seeing these borders, so it should be more aligned with the bubble itself. But since this bubble is cut from the right and from the top, we need to probably place it a little bit closer to the right, because the bubble itself, it kinda like you can imagine that it goes like there outside the border. You can probably read up more in detail about how to place text inside the bubble so it will look on the center. I will cover only the basic idea. This we can turn off so it won't mess with us, and now we need to align vertically. By the way, here you can see I'm moving text. I do it with just arrows on my keyboard. It's the most convenient way because you can do it precisely. I'll move it a little bit to the right, and probably somewhere here I will leave it. You can imagine just a center point of this text somewhere like this, and it should more or less be in the same place as the center point of the whole bubble. Bubbles that are cut like this, they're tricky, and you probably get a hold of it only with time. So far we leave it like this. Listen up. I think it's pretty on the center, but we'll check it later. I will show you how. Let's do next sentence. Next sentence is actually, as you can see, is outside the bubble, this little text. By the way, you can always turn off the visibility of your folder with text. and clean to check the original. This sentence is in different preset, so we'll need to select our text folder again, exactly folder, so it can change the font settings. By the way, this can be done with different tool. For example, this type tool, I don't remember exactly how it's named, tool preset, that's how. So you can probably Google how it's done. I don't find that it's more convenient than my way, but probably it will be more professional way of doing. Here I'm showing my way. So okay, let's copy paste the next line. Again, folder text is selected. Go back to the file with our examples, and we need text outside the bubbles. It's another, as you can see, text per font preset, another font itself, another horizontal scale number, and even the size of text, even for the example, is bigger. Here select horizontal type tool again, switch back, and once again let's draw another square, and Ctrl+V paste our text. We can change the size of the square, so it will be bigger or smaller, and it will fit all the text. It's too big, so I'll change the size. For example, maybe 18, probably better. Let's check the original. It can be even smaller, but we don't need to make everything exactly as in the original, since it's two different languages. Maybe we can move this part. I'm not sure what is better. Probably it will be okay. Maybe a little bit smaller. Okay, and besides, we can maybe add a little rotation, so it looks like more natural. How I did rotation, I choose this instrument, show transform control, and just as you can see, this arrow change when you move it close to the corner somewhere, and you can just move your mouse and it will rotate. Then you press enter, and that's the new shape. Let's check again. You want to place it somewhere in the area of the original text, but you can make some correction accordingly to how it looks exactly in the English. That's quite okay. Let's move to the next. We have this only little text here in the small bubble. It's in handwritten, I would say, since we don't have so far another example, another preset, we will use handwritten. So here we choose our folder again. Here we choose the new text preset, press this, switch back, and let's paste here the word only. You can again align it horizontally pretty accurately just using this tool. Sadly, you can align vertically with the same instrument, so it needs to be done just with your eyes. And the next line, it's pretty long sentence in this bubble. As you can see, it's the same font of the speech as the first bubble. So for this we actually don't need to go back to our file, and you don't need normally to do it like for every sentence, because it's enough to just select the sentence with the exact same form, listen up in our case, and select this text tool, and here we have the same font. I will place the layers in the same order that they are on the page, just so it will be all in good order and it will be convenient both to you and to quality check person to check them. I would say that text is too big, so maybe 16. This little bubble, no, that's not the way to go. Here I want to make this box a little more narrow, and exactly this tool, horizontal type tool, again should be selected to make it and not to distort the text. So something like this. It's somewhat tricky with this line, because as you can see in the typesetting, this word only is referred to the shorts word, so don't stare only at the shorts, something like this, and they should be in one line. I want to correct some of the placements. For example, this short word, it's closer to the next word, and the text overall should get a good readability. It's not just random letters. The reader should be able to understand it, and it should be quite clean. So it's pretty tricky, because we have here two small bubbles, but you can imagine how this working bubble would look without them, something like here, and try to put your text exactly where it would be without the small bubbles. But in this case you should take into consideration this bubble too, because it should point somewhere here, so this word only would be incorporated in the sentence. Yeah, it's pretty tricky. Maybe we'll correct it later, but for now I think it's okay. I don't want to move anything. I think it's okay as it is. Okay, next line. I'm serious. It's for this small bubble, and as you can see, it's pretty similar to this text. So we'll do the same trick. We'll select this bubble width only, like this. The text is pretty big. Let's make it smaller. For the size of fonts, you usually want to use a pretty narrow range. For example, for the main font in our Fury, for example, we use font range somewhere from 15 to 18, just as narrow as it is. Even if you have like big bubbles, we still use some upper limit. We don't make text. I accidentally move another line. We don't make text too big. And the overall idea how you choose size, you want to have some space between text and end of bubbles, so it will, how to say it, so the text can breathe. So there will be some space, and text won't cling to the border like very closely. But there are like numerous exceptions. For example, this sentence is in the very small bubble. Unless we want to use more hyphens, we should be satisfied with this look. Even so, it's quite close, maybe too close for my taste.